Oilers, you got a great offense with Connor McDavid. So I have them sweeping them.
Yeah, well, I don't think you heard my point. The San Francisco Giants have 3 more in the 2010s than the Rangers have in their entire history. So, yeah.
It's hard to get back and to get back-to-back wins. And I don't see the Lightning doing it here, so I have them losing to the Hurricanes in 6.
We don't talk about the 2010s because the 2010s had the Astros. And if the Astros didn't happen, the Yankees would have won in 2017 with the Dodgers.
He was close to Frank Reich, and they want Frank Reich back, so that's what they got. It's their discount Frank Reich.
Kaprizov and the rest of this crew, Jordan Greenway, who doesn't get enough props. He definitely is somebody who needs to be mentioned more.
Hi, this is Julie Dobbs. You're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week. And just finishing up the offseason, and this is part 2 of our receiver video. I would say 2 weeks ago, we reviewed part 1, and that was the first 4 episodes. Austin was a little bit ahead of me. He had just 1 episode to go. I had the final 4 to go. And I would say it's been about close to a week since I finished the second part of receiver and how we're reviewing it. But the man that I'm curious to hear his thoughts are Austin.
Yeah, it was actually 3 weeks ago. So July 28th is when we released the first half of receiver. And then, this is the second half. I enjoyed it. There's players that I've learned more about their personality, how they interact with their teammates, how they interact outside of just being in the NFL. Players I like more, players I like less. It's always been interesting to me how players go about a mindset going into a game, and seeing the difference between like an Amon-Ra and a George Kittle is very cool to see.
Yeah,
was there something that stuck out to you during the second half that was different than the first half?
I would say one of my main things was it just felt like you talked to more people. I know in quarterback you talk to the coaches, but in some episodes, like you talk to Brock Purdy, you talk to Kyle Shanahan. But the one thing that I wanted to really talk about was kind of you could feel the coach's attitude through the players. One was we talked about Devontae when he wasn't really appreciative of McDaniels. I think you were talking about that. You could see how his demeanor changed with the new coaching staff.
Yeah, which is still weird because didn't he ask for a trade during some point of this offseason? Wasn't that a conversation?
There may have been a conversation. I don't know if it was just rumors.
Got it.
But I would also say the big thing that stuck out to me was I kind of had forgotten about the NFC Championship, and I loved hearing Amon-Ra talk about Dan Campbell because we got to hear we had always thought about it, but just to see Amon-Ra be like, yeah, that's us. We appreciate it. Coach Campbell for doing that. And just that's who we are. And that was a big talking point. I remember we talked about it, but I love seeing that type of aspect, especially with the Lions and Amon-Ra.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to lose playing Lions football. That's how you want to lose. If you're going to lose, you don't obviously want to lose, but when you lose, you want to lose being yourself. Not changing it up, trying to be a different team or be a different type of person. So I do have a lot of respect for both of those guys, and I do think that they went out the way they needed to, and that's, again, playing what they got in them there.
Yeah, and I loved how you also got the parent perspective. You got Amon-Ra's dad saying, and they put that in there, take the field goal, take the points, and then you have Amon-Ra talking. And there could have been something else he said, but in this, I'm pretty sure he stated with this. It was like, no, this is Coach Campbell, and that's what we wanted to do, and we just weren't able to get it done. So I really love that aspect. And just the Super Bowl II, I love seeing that and just getting George Kittle and Debo's reactions to it.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's something cool to see, but also you missed some of the games that I wanted to see. Like I wanted to see the Lions game versus the Cowboys. I know we had a long discussion. I think it's one of the worst calls I've ever seen in my entire life still, but my thought is that they said something that was probably not going to be allotted for the NFL to post by themselves. So they decided not, where we won't discuss it because, again, I think it's easily a top 5 worst call ever.
Yes, I was thinking about that. I'm like, man, I'm really excited to see what Amon-Ra says about that play. And yeah, we didn't get it. So I was like,
I think I know why.
yeah, there was probably they're like, no, we're not doing that, which I understand. And I think they do a good job of balancing it. I do love the end too when you get to see the contracts and see them signing contracts. I loved seeing that added adjustment because that was just a few months ago, and it was just a small thing for them to add. But to me, it just adds so much more detail. I don't know how you felt about the ending scene.
Yeah, I liked it. It was definitely cool. It's interesting to see like the different like length contracts and obviously size of contract. It's different with what team you're playing on and how well you did, but also like again, Justin Jefferson gets the highest paid contract of any player that's not a QB in NFL history. That's huge.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think what else. I loved because where we ended was seemed like they were about to do it. They were doing injuries, but I also loved how they kind of focused on George Kittle. You talked about, and you had seen that episode where he talked about speaking things into existence and just the way they visually did it to where everything's moving around him, but he's still, and that little effect.
Yeah, it was definitely really cool to see that.
So that's all I got. I would almost say it's better than quarterback. Just
I liked both. I thought both were good. I hope that now we get to see a defensive spot. My dad was talking about it. It's harder because they don't actually score touchdowns or stuff like that, but I do think that a defensive end or a DB, one of those would be really cool to see. And if they decide to stick on offense, I would say running back. I don't want to do one of the two we've already done. I like to see a different sort of light because I think every position has a different way of viewing not only how they play, but how they impact the game.
yeah, that was going to be a question, but yeah, all are good. It just seems like the receiver was better, even though quarterback was so good. I just love it; makes you feel connected to the player because they allow so much access. But if I would have had to guess, I do think they go defense, and this is purely off of friends of Peyton Manning. Even though Randy Moss and Peyton don't really hang out a lot. But I love that addition of Randy Moss kind of narrating it. I would either say Ray Lewis, maybe linebacker, because Ray Lewis talks a lot with Peyton Manning. And I would love, because quarterback.
Linebacker's a really tough one, though, because I feel like it's one of the ones that, like, you're really good, then you're not. Like, it's a very fluid. Like, I still remember Devin White. We went from him arguably being a top 5 linebacker in the league to now he's not even remotely close to that and gets traded to the Eagles. So it's a lot more of a fluid position. While with D end and I think corners and safeties, while it's not perfect, it does seem like it's more consistent long term. I think that's also the problem with running backs, right? Like you never know when a guy's going to get hurt 1 or 2 when he's going to actually not be that great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they could go defensive end because you could go Dwight Freeney or even Michael Strahan. I'm just thinking because I think they go different narration too. Because like I know it's produced.
I think I would like to hear Michael Strahan do it.
If Michael Strahan
that would be cool.
It'd be fun. And
or I mean, honestly, I know he's the coach of Colorado, but Dion doing a corner one would be amazing.
Dion would be great. Yeah, I think it'd be really fun. I would love for them to keep doing it. And I think it's a great way for someone that doesn't really root for a team or they have their home team, but they're like, I want to watch more of the NFL. I think it's a great way of just like you would root for guys. I'm sure if you just watch this,
you're like, I want to.
Yeah. To me, that's kind of the recommendation when someone's talking about football. I'm like, watch receiver because then you're like, okay, I know this guy. And then, oh, wow, he's really good. I would say you're probably more fans of Justin Jefferson. There's probably divisiveness on Devontae. And yeah. But yeah, overall, great series. Any final thoughts?
No, I really enjoyed it. I'm glad we recapped it.
Yeah, let us know if you would like more from this from us. We appreciated it, and it gave me a reason to watch it and stay consistent with it. I fall out of shows sometimes, but thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.